or use lemon juice to remove highlighter marks. By cutting off the top of this toothbrush, we can insert a jigsaw blade into the handle to make a handheld saw. To prevent cords from getting tangled, make a loop with this cord and wrap the rest of the cord around it. Insert the plug through the loop and pull it tight. We can even hang our tools like this. Levels are a valuable tool to have for all kinds of DIY projects. Today we'll be taking out the vials to attach to our drill. We'll place hot glue onto the back of the drill and press the vials down in a T shape. Now, as long as the table and board are leveled, the holes will be straight. If our wrench is too big for this smaller bolt, we can grind out a slot to fit the size of the smaller bolt. Weed whackers are probably some of the most finicky tools in the shed. To make a more permanent solution, let's make a few modifications. We can start by drilling holes around the outer housing to install the cable ties. We can also remove the guard blades. We can even use this modified version to clear away snow in the wintertime. To saw dowels by hand without a table, we can use a carpenter's square for support. This can work for both round and square dowels. Our next project will be a bit of woodworking. We will be connecting an end face with a crosspiece using a wedged mortise and tenon joint. This is an extremely strong joint that's even used to attach axe heads to their handles. We'll start by making our marks on both pieces using a pencil and a marking gouge. We are marking out a basic mortise and tenon joint. From here we'll cut out the tenon, making sure it's about a 1/4 inch longer than our marking. Clean it up with a chisel. Then we'll mark out and drill 2 holes. Then saw from the end to the holes. These are the slots for the wedges. To make the mortise, use a drill to remove most of the wood. Then we can use a chisel to clean and even the edges. Now we'll make 1/4 inch marks on one side of the mortise to create tapered sides. Now we can make our wedges. We'll be using a different colored wood to create a distinct look. A vise and a chisel can help us to cut out the wedged shape. We'll need 2 pieces that are the same width and slots. Next we'll add the glue on top of the joint and also to the sides of the wedges. Hammer in the wedges as deep as they'll go. Saw it flush, sand it, and apply some varnish for the finish. It can be difficult to cut a threaded bolt on the table. Instead, we can clamp a wrench into the vise and pass the bolt through the head. We need to sharpen our knife, so we'll be using this file instead of a sharpening stone. We can even attach the rod into our drill to help speed up the process. Now, when we go to cut the sponge, our knife is much sharper. Sometimes, when using a whole saw, the edges of the wood are too rough, so we need to go back and sand it. We can cut out a strip of sandpaper and attach it to the drill bit. Now, the edges are a bit smoother than before. To make a tool for scrubbing hard-to-reach places, remove the abrasive layer from a dish sponge and cut out small circles. From here, we'll attach these circles to a rivet. Attach the rivet to your Dremel, and now we can clean hard-to-reach places, clean up old tools. Here's a quick tip that can help make your job a little easier. We want to simply flatten the nozzle using a tube or anything else that you can find. Cut a small angle off and flatten nozzle and screw it back onto the canister. Now we'll get clean, even lines.
To make sure that this spray gets on the lug nuts and not on the brake pads, try using the top of this plastic bottle as a funnel. To make sure that these two pieces of wood are level, use a hammer and a screw to hold the boards in place while we attach the two pieces together. Wrapping the wire around the terminal like this isn't going to hold. Instead, we'll remove some of the plastic from the end of the wire like usual. Then, we'll cut an additional piece of plastic and move it to the end of the wire. Now wrap the wire around the terminal back on itself and then tighten it back down. We're having a hard time removing this bolt with these pliers. We can make our own DIY socket wrench. Insert a same-size bolt into a pipe and then hammer on all sides until the pipe matches the shape of the bolt. Now we can use this to loosen the original bolt. Here's an interesting trick to make pocket holes. Drill a large hole in the center of the stud and then 3 pilot holes inside of it. Then, drill the screws into the pilot holes to attach the two pieces together. For our next project, we'll be modifying these pliers to turn them into brick tongs. We'll start by cutting off a couple strips of metal and then welding the larger piece to the handle and the smaller piece to the jaws. Secure the longer handle into the vise and bend it to a right angle. Now we can comfortably carry bricks. Sometimes it can be impossible to fill a larger bucket with water because it just won't fit into the sink. In these cases, we can attach foam tubing to the faucet and then place the other end of the foam tubing into the bucket which we set on the floor. Now we'll be making a DIY sandblaster. We'll first need to cut out a hole from this pipe and flatten one end. Next, we'll need 2 bottle caps. We'll cut out a section on the top of this bottle cap that's the same width as the pipe so that it can fit inside. We'll drill a hole into the other bottle cap and then screw the 2 caps together. Place the pipe through the incision and then line up the 2 holes. Fill the bottom cap with hot glue. Next, we can fill this bottle with sand and attach it to the bottle cap. Now with an air compressor, our sandblaster can clean our tools. If we've lost the caps to these nozzles on our glue bottles, we can just use drywall anchors as a substitute. This is called a marlin spike hitch, and we can use it to make a rope ladder. We'll wrap the rope around the rung 3 times, and then wrap the middle loop around the back. We can do this on both sides of each rung to make a rope ladder. To undo the hitch, just pull it off and it will come undone. Now let's make a modification to our soldering iron. We'll remove the tip and secure it in a vise. Then we'll cut off the tip with a hacksaw and make a vertical incision. We'll then cut a snap blade into the shape of an X-Acto knife blade and attach it into the incision. Now we can heat up our blade to make our cuts. We need to make a new handle for our screwdriver. We can make one using hot glue and baking soda. Heat up the hot glue and the baking soda together using a heat gun. Mix everything together until it forms a thick paste. As it cools, mold the handle onto the shank until the paste cools to a hard plastic handle.